Hello everybody, Stephen Nelson here for Full Time Devils. I'm here with Tony Park, youth author and historian. And today we are going to talk about Timothy Fosu-Mensah, one of my favourite players in the academy at the moment. Timothy Fosu-Mensah, talk to the people, tell them how good he is.
Yeah, it's very rare, Stephen, that you see a young player who comes to the club, and he came to us a season or so ago, 16 years old. My friend and I, Steve O'Hoban, we were down at the Everton Academy, and we saw this guy because we're aware that he'd signed for the club. And just the physique at 16, we looked at each other and said, wow, he's a big boy. And in that first appearance, he looked quality from the first kick. Strong on the ball, strong on the tackle, disciplined in defence. He played defensive centre-half that day. And within a couple of weeks he was playing midfield, looked equally at home in midfield. And again, we looked at it and thought, we've got a player here. And I think that from day one, this lad is going to make the first team. Unless something silly happens with injury or whatever, he's got first team material written all over him. The other night against Norwich City, we saw him come on as a substitute, bombing forward from a midfield position, scoring a really good goal. He's got composure, he's got aggression, the discipline. I think he's a footballer's footballer. He'll work for the team. I think he's a really exciting prospect, probably the most exciting since Paul Pogba to come to the club in that capacity. And I can't wait to watch him move forward. And I've got a funny feeling, depending on what happens in the first team, I wouldn't be surprised before the season's end if we see him on the bench with Van Gaal, just throwing him in just to see what might happen. I think he's got quality written all over him.
I would absolutely love him to get, not just to sit on the bench, I'd like to see him get 10, 15 minutes somewhere, because I think he is not going to disappoint. For me, his best position is central midfield. Now, I've seen him compared to Pogba. I think he's a completely different footballer. For me, he is Brian Robson-esque. He's a player that thrives. The harder the challenge, the harder the opposition, the bigger the job that he needs to do, the bigger and more up to the challenge he is. And he has got quality written all over him. Box to box, scores goals. Where do you see him playing best? Because obviously he has played a lot in defence and midfield. Where do you like him best?
I think your likening him to Robbo is very interesting. He obviously hasn't got the scoring prowess that Brian Robson had. Robson was probably the best box-to-box midfielder I've ever seen in my life. And he always finished up. He's got nearly 100 goals for the club. So, you know, he's in good company if we're comparing him to him. I do think he's a defensive I do think he's a defensive midfielder. I think that's his best position. As you say, he's got the versatility to play on the left or the right. He can play centre-half. I think he's a way. I think when you look at young players, and Joyce does this a lot, he puts them in, like Weir, like a couple of others, he'll put them in certain positions. Joe Riley is another good example. And he'll put them in fullback roles just to give them some confidence, give them some positional play, some time on the ball, etc., etc. I think with Mensah, he's doing a lot of that. He's given him a range of learning experiences, playing him in different roles. I think from a Manchester United perspective, I think we will lose out having him at centre-half because we then lose a midfielder. And if you look at the first team, when they played Jones in midfield as a centre-half, I think it's almost the inverse. I think we've been trying to pigeonhole Jones into a midfield role when really he's a centre-half. I think Mensah's the other way around. I think, yeah, he's come up from defence. I think he's got midfield written all over him.
I absolutely agree. And if you've been watching anything of Timothy Fosu-Mensah, I'm not even going to ask you if you agree, because the guy is special. Stick it in the comments. How good can Timothy Fosu-Mensah be? And like Tony, do you think we're going to see him this season in the first team? Let's hope so. Stick it in the comments, and thank you for watching. This is a two-part review that we're going to have where they cover the under-21s and under-18s. This is the under-18s. So Tony, under-18s, how have they done this season?
Well, considering we're bottom of the league for the first time in our history, I would say pretty diabolical.